Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome each of you to Next Level Career Growth Define Design, and Step into the Work that you were meant for. And this is all about everything that I've learned in the last 13 years as a career development and leadership coach, and how can that impact you in terms of making your next career move. We'll have a chance to introduce ourselves to each other and see where we are career and life wise in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say welcome and thanks for taking the time out on a beautiful summer evening. If I'm not sure what it's like where every one of you are, but it certainly is here. And I look forward to the conversation. I look forward to the dialogue and also to discussing a lot of things that are going to be really meaningful in terms of whatever your next step career wise is going forward. So, with that, I will um, go into what we're going to cover this week. And this is all related to the book I published a few years ago called Finding God's True Purpose for Your Career. And it starts with defining your purpose, figuring out what you want to do and why, and then creating a value proposition, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, that really represents you. And it's not about just all your accomplishments and everything. It's about you as a human being. And then the next part of it will be outreach and networking. How do you get your credentials in front of as many of the right people as possible? Then interviewing and negotiating so that you take that value proposition to the right people and quote unquote close the deal. How do you make it so that you are the right person for that position and everybody knows it? And then after that is onboarding for success. We'll get into all of that on day 3. So the agenda, I'm going to break it up tonight into 2 parts: getting paid in your purpose and then crafting your career selling points. And then tomorrow night we'll talk about networking smarter and landing faster, and then interview tactics, and then turning this week into your breakthrough year on Thursday. So I'm relatively new to Canva, so I was really proud of myself for putting all these together about defining your purpose, creating a unique value proposition, getting your credentials in front of the right people, interviewing and negotiating, and again, turning this into your breakthrough year. And um, also want to speak briefly about the method that I've put a trademark around, and I'm still working on that right now. But it's how do you get from I'm not sure what I want to do to getting clear about what your life and your career are all about so that it aligns with your personal values and your faith. And I had to move the letters around a little bit here, so bear with me. But differentiate means how do we create your unique story? And then I had to back up and put the N in there that says building meaningful connections by networking to open those doors that may not be open to you right now. Then interviewing and influencing. And this is really important because influencing is huge at any point in your career, particularly in the interview process. And then thriving, because I've seen too many people, myself included, who have said, well, I got to pay the bills, got to
How
get
you
that
doing?
next job going.
Can I get a two potato bacon and egg?
Wait, PJ, I got to put you on mute here, but get one for me and I'll pick it up tomorrow. There you go. All right, he's on mute.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Again, from your life vision, and it's your life vision to your thriving career, that's the goal of the Land It method. And again, relatively new to Canva, so I found these lovely looking capital letters here to make you realize that, hey, we can make art out of this project as well. But at the end of the day, it's all about landing in the situation that you really want, defining it first, getting there second, and then landing it third. So, key observation: career is a subset of your entire life. And this is really, really important because most of us, certainly I did in my 20s and 30s, focus on career and finances and then family, and depending on when family comes into play or whatever other things are happening. But there's so many more areas of your life that are important, and then we're going to go into these briefly here tonight. All life goals and roles must be incorporated into any career decision, including the people around you who will be affected by that. I've had several clients who have decided that they wanted to move to a new area of the country, and that impacts everybody, especially when you have kids in high school. How does your career aspirations and your goals fit in with your life goals? And it's really career is a subset of your life. So, so let's go through some brief introductions here. I didn't mean to take up the entire part of it, but I just wanted to set the stage for what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves and where are you zooming in from? What are you currently doing, and what do you see yourself doing in the future? Or if that isn't a clear pathway, please say that as well. Probably 20, 30 seconds for everybody, and if there's some questions or dialogue that we need to do going back and forth, that'll be fine as well. So, any volunteers? I'll, uh, I'll, I,
Sure,
I think
I can
Chris,
go though.
Chris, go ahead.
All right, I can volunteer. Hey everyone, my name is Chris Pereira, currently in the Princeton, New Jersey area. I am currently the director of global supply chain manufacturing systems at Colgate Palmolive. I've been there for over 30 years at this point, and I have recently taken a voluntary separation package. So that's my current status, and in terms of future, looking for three different options, I guess I can see myself in. One is kind of an equivalent position to my current career. Another would be, branching out into self-employment through consulting. And then the third would be, trying to land something in a smaller company, maybe a startup company or just some smaller mom and pop manufacturing company that can, utilize my expertise and experience and I can teach others and help the company grow.
I can't help but ask if you have some extra toothpaste that you could pass around to the
I
group
have
here.
tons of toothpaste.
I figured you would. So,
I
but
haven't bought a tube of toothpaste in 30 years.
that makes sense. A buddy of mine who was the brand manager on Crest Tartar Control back a long time ago, and then Colgate eventually came out with Colgate Total. It's been the toothpaste wars on the shelves for a long time. So, thanks, Chris, for that intro. I think it was Raj next, and then Preeti.
Hi, my name is Raj Gupta. I'm calling from New Jersey as well, actually up in the Lebanon Township area, so right at the tip of northern Hunterdon. Um, it is currently raining. We've got about 4 inches so far of
Oh
rain,
wow.
and we're expected to get more tonight and then tomorrow. But I've been in the biopharmaceutical manufacturing industry for almost 30 years. Currently unemployed and looking to actually get back into it. And I wish I had gone first because then it wouldn't look like I'm copying off of Chris. But I am
Repeating?
kind of
Yes.
repeating, yeah, after Chris.
Right.
But I am looking possibly of using that ton of experience that I have, and uh, whether it's working for myself or working for a consulting firm. But I'm also kind of starting not necessarily my career over, but kind of the path over again, where um, I had originally joined a small company called Imclone Systems
Huh.
that had
Okay.
a blockbuster drug, and um, and then got bought by Eli Lilly and Company. And so, kind of looking again for maybe a small company where I can lend my breadth of experience to
What was the
and grow.
blockbuster? What was the blockbuster? When did Eli Lilly buy Inclone? I remember that. I just don't remember when. And
So
what was the impact on you at that point? Yeah.
I mean, really, what happened was it was a very small company. I had come from Hoffman LaRoche to Imclone. I was the department that I had come from Roche was actually almost twice as large as the actual as Imclone Systems was,
Okay.
personnel wise. Um, the company was really, I'm not going to say struggling, but it was, as with small companies, that at that time, IPOs or not IPOs, but rather stock offerings, things like that were very big news. And so I think about a month after I joined, we had raised $14 million in a public offering, and that gave us enough money to run for a year.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it was pretty small. But the drug was called cetuximab. That was the generic name. The brand name is Erbitux.
Okay.
And it was a drug. It was approved in 2008. I'm sorry, 2002, I believe. and unfortunately, yeah, there was some infamy around that whole thing with stock trades and whatnot.
But the impact on you of the Lilly
Oh,
situation and you're now between roles.
yeah.
Was Lilly part of that, or was it something else?
No, that was, I mean, Lilly bought us in 2008. And
I see.
so,
Okay.
and then I separated from Lilly in 2024.
Okay.
I had a number of health issues, things like that, that I needed to really take care of.
And how are you feeling
Um,
now?
Feeling great,
Okay.
actually. And again, I thought for a while that maybe I could do some early, do early retirement. And about 6 months later, I kind of realized my wife also realized I needed to go back to work.
Okay.
So, not needed to go back to work. It was just kind of, I was happier at work,
Okay.
right? So, and that's where I am. And really looking to, yeah,
Well, all right. Thanks for that. And
thanks.
I think everybody on the call, and myself included, have had career ups and downs in one form or another. And Chris, you are an anomaly, having been with the same organization for 31 years. I only know two people who worked for the one organization for an extended period of time and retired from there. So it's a rare thing these days. But either way, okay. Thanks for that, Raj and Preeti.
Hi, my name is Preeti Chopra, and I am a mother of five. I've spent majority of my career in sales, and I'm currently not working but recovering from an accident, recovering from a health issue while I'm learning AI, building courses in my AI, and my future goal is to create my laptop lifestyle as well as do some online coaching. I was coaching about 2 years ago for about a year and a half. I was just helping my daughter in her um, online program. And I think I'd like to go back to doing some coaching on the side while I'm creating my AI courses.
That's great. And where are you zooming in from?
Oh, from Toronto, Ontario.
Very good. Okay, thanks. Um, Merrick.
Yes, so I have similar situation like Chris. I work for company 23 years and I received the separation package. So that was 23 years in corporate advertising. I was helping with visual communication through photography, video, graphic design, motion design. So that's at this point I'm looking for a job which kind of will gonna be overlap what I was doing. That's will be the easiest part at my age, I guess. So that's what I'm spending my time now to just look for a job in the field.
And
And also, I just want to mention, Bill, because your mission and just like whatever I read, it so resonated with just like those like young people who just like looking for a job. And I asked my son to join. He just graduated college,
okay.
so he's with me and he's just looking for some cues and clue where to go.
And his name is?
His name is Oliver.
Hey, I'm right here.
Nice to see
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah,
And
nice to meet you.
it's I'll just make a sidebar here is I've probably worked with 650 clients, about close to 650 in 13 years. 40, 45 of them have been recent college graduates. And it's one of these things where, particularly in today's marketplace, with all the influx of AI automating some, let's call them repetitive tasks, it's very, very difficult. So glad you're on board, and we can talk separately about that. And I guess now that the camera's on you, first off, one question, Merrick. When did the 23 years and in the advertising world end for you?
End of May, so
Okay,
June 1st will be the date. Yeah.
got it. Okay. Okay, and sorry, your son's name again? Sorry, spell
Yeah,
it.
hi, I'm Oliver. I can give a brief
Oliver.
introduction. I mean,
Yeah, good.
I don't have as much to talk about, as everybody here, considering, I just started my career.
Go
But
ahead.
okay, sure.
Go.
Do you want to? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, so my name's Oliver, Marek's son. I recently graduated from the College of New Jersey with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing. Right now, I'm in the rewards and incentives industry. I'm working as a marketing specialist. And in the future, I could see myself going in a couple different career directions. I could see myself being a business analyst, a marketing manager, or a project manager.
That's great. And ironically, you overlap with my background a lot. I'll get to mine in a minute, but glad to have you and welcome. And
Yeah,
Mark,
glad to be here.
where are you from originally?
I am originally from Poland, but we
Mhm.
Poland.
live in Princeton. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand. No, I realize you're in Princeton, and it was great to meet you a week ago Friday. So,
likewise.
um,
Yeah.
all right. Let's see, Amy.
Okay, got the mute. Hi, my name is Amy. Uh, it's written as Ellie Rain because that's my pen name. I am a fantasy author. Uh, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see, what was the other thing we're supposed to talk about? Uh, I am here because I am a mother of two, one of which is not even 2 years old yet. And I also am recovering from an injury. Uh, and I basically have just not been doing any of my work. I've kind of just isolated myself due to the injury and was on some pretty terrible migraine medication and basically made me forget everything for a bit there. And now that I'm off the medication, I'm kind of trying to relearn what it was I was doing and how to do it. And so here I am.
There you go. And well, you've also published a number of books too in
Yeah.
the sci-fi realm and anime, et cetera. If you just briefly speak to that, and you've worked with your creative side for a long time. I mean, based on
Mm.
a conversation we were having earlier. So just go into that if you would a little bit.
Okay, I'll do my best. I write epic fantasy, sword and sorcery type stuff. If you know Lord of the Rings, I kind of describe my main series as if Tim Burton had written Lord of the Rings. Um, uh, I'm not sure what else to say to
No,
that.
that's great. No, that's just you're an author. You're an author, and
Yeah,
that's and
yeah,
that's 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 going to put you in a very different category than the majority of people, the career folks. But there's always a place for that as well. So
yeah.
welcome.
And
Go ahead.
thanks. I've never done corporate before, so like I have no idea what some of the terminology is. So if I ask a lot of questions, I'm sorry. Our industry is very different.
Understood. And there's always a cross pollination where we can learn from each other. So
Yeah.
thanks for that. Let's see, Patrick. You're on mute. If you can go ahead.
All right, hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Hi, I'm Patrick Hernandez. I currently live in Austin, Texas. Right now, I am unemployed. I have been in logistics for the past 17 years. I've ran my own business. Um, I've had up to 5 drivers underneath me, where we dealt in pharmaceutical deliveries to assisted homes and memory care facilities. And yeah, 17 years of doing that, and it's all gone. And I'm at a crossroads where, uh, you know, when you own your own business, there isn't a lot of I guess, at least in my stance, planning for the future. So I didn't put my 401k. I didn't have health insurance and any of that good stuff. So I'm at a crossroads where I'm 40 years old, and it's either make a jump to the military for the next 20 years because I'm at that age, that cutoff age, or try to get back into the workforce or just create something of my own, which I'm very passionate in fitness and health and nutrition. And I kind of want to transition to opening up like my own cooking thing, where I just push off and educate healthy living and a healthier way of eating, getting away from all the fast food and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Thanks for that update. And the phrase that was coming to mind as you were saying, when you're working with your own business, there isn't a safety net. That's been my experience, both with entrepreneurs and myself, actually, as well. So thanks for coming on the call. And it's about 98, if I'm not mistaken, in Austin right now. Both my adult kids live there, so
Yeah, it's hot.
We visit
Yeah,
regularly.
excuse my improper dress, but I mean it's just too hot to be putting on t-shirts right now.
Understood, understood. So okay, Smokey, if you could come on video, that'd be great.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Smokey Kelly, and I'm living in Manhattan, Kansas, and spent 12 years in higher education in multiple roles, instructor, professional development chair, just a little bit different leadership roles. And I learned about Bill, I think, from through Facebook, and got laid off, and I've been applying for jobs, and started my own coaching practice, but still definitely need the security of stable employment. And I've been trying to hit up like ed tech companies and move into kind of like coaching and client success manager roles, but haven't had any luck yet. But I think it's great to connect with others, and I'm glad to be here. And apologize for my camera's not working.
All right, no problem. Home of the Kansas State Wildcats, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you who think there's only one Manhattan, there isn't.
It's Little Apple, yeah.
Yeah, big deal in the Midwest. So, all right. Thanks to everybody. Again, this is going to be very interactive, and I'm not attached to what the time is. So if there are questions, thoughts, comments, please feel free to chime in. The goal here is to get you as much as you need to get off the ground in the next 2.5 days. And we will talk about the prospect of working individually together in groups, et cetera, but we'll get to that at a later point. So thanks for those introductions. It gives me and everybody else on the call a much better idea of where you're coming from at this particular juncture. So I want to give you a little bit of background about how the Landit method started. And before we go into all the stuff related to the training, I just want to say that this was something that was not built from textbooks, although I have done a lot of textbook research on it. I worked as a career counselor back in graduate school as a graduate assistant, helped the undergraduates find their first full-time job out of school. But the real thing about this program is it was built from my experience, the real pain, the uncertainty, and the lessons that come from times when life forces you to start all over again. And for me, that was back in the 2008 financial crisis. For the previous 4 years, I'd been working as a marketing product development consultant in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was used to earning 3 figures an hour. And when the financial crisis hit, that rug was pulled out from under me. And I had had 20 years prior in marketing, advertising, product management, and very well-known companies like General Electric, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, United Health Group, and Del Monte Foods. And I was, had the house, had the mortgage, a couple of car payments, kids going to private schools, and then overnight it disappeared. It all stopped. I went from a full schedule to zero. And it was, after a little while, the most trying period of my life, both personally and professionally, because I burned through every dollar of savings, every part of my retirement, literally down to my last 20 bucks. I applied for roles that had paid 3 times what I was looking for at that point and still wasn't getting them. And I was as frustrated and despondent as anybody that I'd ever seen. Again, it was a really low point in my life. And there was a trigger moment that I realized that, you know what, I'm looking at my bank account thinking, how did I become quote unquote worthless? And then I realized I couldn't just keep throwing resumes into the void. I couldn't keep just going out there and peddling myself in a way that wasn't working. But I also realized that there was intrinsic value in me as a human being and me as a career professional. And I decided at that point I'm still valuable no matter what the economy indicated. And there were some people that had implications and fallout of the financial crisis for many, many years after that. So my worth didn't disappear just because the economy tanked. I decided to redouble down on my faith and figure out what does it really take to land work that fits my life and not just my calendar. Ultimately, I landed a position as a managing director in one of the divisions of United Health Group, which turned out to be a great, great position until they had a reorg a year later. So I was back at square one again. That said, I knew that I'd be able to do something different because of what I had experienced over that almost 2 year period from the fall of 2008 until June of 2010. And how could I pay it forward? I decided that if I ever had the opportunity, I would do everything in my ability to help others navigate through these situations and not have to experience what I did. And somebody once said, you turned your mess into a message, and I guess that's a good way of looking at it. But the bottom line is, there are two reasons I do this work. One of them is what I just mentioned. The other one is, after marketing products and services for over 20 years, I found out 13 years ago this month at a job fair in Parsippany, New Jersey, where I met my first what became clients, that it was a whole lot more fun to market and sell people than it ever was products and services. So there were several things that kind of came together at that point 13 years ago, and I've been doing that work ever since. So today's agenda, we're going to a little bit about me. I just gave you the background about my why, and then the more important thing for the first part of this evening is defining your purpose. Who are you? What are your dreams? What are your search objectives? A lot of you have mentioned possibilities in terms of what your search objectives might be. It's important to not just put them out there as possibilities, but really explore what that means and how is it going to impact your life, your career, and those around you. And then the second part of tonight is going to be, what's your value proposition and how well are you telling your current story? So why spend any time with me? And I appreciate the fact that all of you have. First of all, I'm the oldest of six, and I started a paper route at age 10 and a half so I could buy clothes. There wasn't a whole lot of money coming down the pike where I grew up. And the reason is my father was a first-generation immigrant subsistence farmer from French-speaking Nova Scotia. And as the oldest of six, I was wearing hand-me-down clothes that my brothers, who were younger but bigger than me, would give me. And that just wasn't going to work. So since then, I've had, and I'm counting this up, I counted these up back in May, I've had 44 jobs and 4 careers. And a job counts as this. It had to be at least a month, and it had to pay at least $1,000. So I had 4 jobs before I even got into college. After college, I worked as an engineer for General Electric for 2 years. That was career number 1. I went back to business school for career number 2, which was marketing, brand management, advertising, etc. And then career number 3 was a consultant, and career number 4 is doing this work as a career development coach. So I started at the Indiana University Business Placement Office. Some of you may or may not be familiar with a guy named Bobby Knight. I was at the game that he threw the chair across the court, which was an iconic moment in athletics, but I'm dating myself by saying I was at the game. I worked with a gentleman named Henry Lesher, who invited me to work with him back 13 years ago with his company called Career Advancement Systems. I started careers with Coach Bill 5 years ago after Henry retired. I wrote a book called Finding God's True Purpose for Your Career, which I use as kind of a roadmap for everybody that I'm working with. And even though I've never climbed a mountain, I am the Sherpa that will get you to the top of your next career mountain, no matter what that might be. And I have been the MC at over 200 job fairs in 7 states, primarily New Jersey, Long Island, and Connecticut. This is before COVID, which shut all that down. And I've worked with 645 clients in 12 years, now 13. I need to change that slide. My mantra is this about anything related to careers. God put us all here for a variety of reasons. Career is one of the most important, primarily because we spend a lot of time there, 40, 50, 60 hours a week out of 168, and you're sleeping or eating probably 50 or more of those. So it's up to each one of us to figure out and manifest what those reasons are in the best way that we can. If we're not connected, and I believe we all are, on either Facebook or LinkedIn, I post a lot more on Facebook just because it lends itself to that. But there's my contact information, and you can find me on either one. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm going to eventually get on a YouTube channel as well. I have enough content that I can do that. So I'm going to switch gears here now and now speak directly to each and every one of you. And when I ask this question at job fairs, people kind of look at me, what the hell is he talking about? But here's the reason for it. What do you want your epitaph to say? And candidly, I'm a lot closer to it than most of you. All right. So that's one of the reasons why it comes up in my thoughts. But are you on the front nine or the back nine, to use a golf analogy? And how many days old are you? And you may not know the answer, but there is an app for that. And I turned 24,300 days in May. You can do the math if you'd like. The end of the day is this. Years come and go, but everybody knows what 24 hours is. How can you make the best use of every 24-hour period in your life, both career-wise and life-wise, so that when you get to the point that you're putting on your epitaph, it's not just a dash between the day you were born and the day you pass on. It's something else that's much more meaningful to that. And legacies are a really important thing. Is this transition period, for those of you who are in a transition period, a time to make some major changes, to listen to that little small voice that's been inside you? You might have been doing something for 20, 30 or more years, just based on the conversations we've had here. Are there things that you've kind of been putting off, or just saying, okay, I enjoy this job, it's been good enough, or whatever it might be? Is there something that you haven't listened to or paid attention to that would be worth considering? And that's what we're going to talk about here in the next several minutes. And what is it that you want to do to create your career legacy that lines up with your life legacy? And my motivation for each of you is this, is to turn whatever job you have into a career, or a career into a passion, or to get back in the game as soon as possible at the highest levels of compensation and also the highest levels of satisfaction and fulfillment. Because ultimately those are the things that you remember. Did I enjoy doing this? Did I contribute? Did I enjoy the people that I worked with? And was it fulfilling for me? So commit to what's going on this week. There'll be some simple homework assignments both tonight and tomorrow night. But if you do them, you'll get an overview of what I do on a very, very detailed basis with every one of my clients. But we start with identifying your career goals and objectives. And those could be more than one. I mean, several of you said, I might want to do this or that or whatever it might be. Either way, it's worth exploring those pathways and seeing exactly what that could turn into. Then we'll talk about a marketing and sales strategy, because like it or not, job search is a marketing and sales exercise. How do we promote yourself to the right hiring managers? Through your resume and your LinkedIn profile, through your targeted search campaign, and what will eventually be your superior interviewing skills. How many of you, and you can raise your hands as I read these, have been, and there are a couple of you on the call already, downsized, right-sized, laid off, reorged, let go, fired, furloughed, riffed, forced out, or something else that you're not quite sure what it was, but you ended up not going back to work the following week? Again, how many of you fall into that category? And honestly, except for the furlough, I've been involved with every one of those, and some of them more than once. Okay, in 44 jobs, you can imagine what that might have meant. So what I have found in these situations is that it really cuts to the core of your identity, particularly if you've had multiple years or even decades invested in a company or a career field. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. What else might describe you? 10 to 30 years in a career and miserable, a bad choice for an employer or career, just getting started, like Oliver said, looking for a new career path, either in a similar field or something different. And I've worked with people who are every stage of this. Recent college graduate, now what do I want to do? You feel like you're underpaid and you're worth more. And then there's a whole bunch of uns, and I could have probably used the whole page of this, but unfulfilled, underutilized, understaffed, undertrained, or I should say, or overworked and overwhelmed. And that can apply to a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances. So what will it feel like to be in a dream career job where you're fulfilled, you really enjoy it, you're paid well, you're excited to get up on Monday morning and go to work, and there may be other reasons as well. And I'm going to use a concept that was developed over in Japan, but I absolutely love it because it really gets to the point of what your career is all about. And it's called Ikigai, and roughly in English it means purpose, or in Sanskrit it means dharma. But it's stronger than either of those. I put down the bottom left there, it's your reason to get up in the morning. And if you look at this Venn diagram with these four intersecting circles, you'll see it's the combination of what you love doing, what you're good at, what the world needs and what you can be paid for. And if you hit that bullseye, everybody wins, starting with you and the people around you and your family. Because when you come home with a smile on your face, or you go to work with a smile on your face on Monday morning, people know that you're enjoying what you're doing, and it impacts every other area of your life. The great philosopher Mark Twain, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And for those of you who are parents, there's more than one day when you find out why, because it's not just your career-related activities, but it's also parenthood and any other roles that you may be playing in your life. So these are the things that I have found in 13 years of doing this work. These are the reasons why people struggle. And I pulled some memes off of Canva to demonstrate that. But the first one that I find, and it's probably 90% of the people that I work with, is that they don't recognize their real value and they lowball themselves. So you can see that little dollar sign with the arrow down in the bottom left there. Not a true understanding of what they're worth, and by not understanding that, not being able to negotiate and not being able to move along in an organization in the most effective way. Communicating value, and this doesn't just mean verbally, this means initially in writing and online with an ineffective resume or LinkedIn profile. Applying to the black hole, I can't tell you how many people I've run into who have said some version of this. I've applied to over 300 jobs and I only got 4 responses. Truth of the matter is this: when you apply blindly through applicant tracking systems, which are incredibly more sophisticated now with AI, the response rates are somewhere between 0.5% and 2%, which means 1 out of 50 to 1 out of 200. It's better oftentimes to buy a lottery ticket. And I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it really is. I'm going to go through some networking approaches that are far more productive than just sending your resume into the black hole. The next one is interviewing, quote unquote, not to lose, not answering the questions properly or creating dialogue. And I call it the lost interview, and I've seen lots and lots of those. One of the things I ask my clients to do, particularly since almost every interview these days initially happens either by phone or Zoom, primarily on Zoom or Teams, whatever, is to record the interview so that we can dissect the points that went well and not, and what didn't go well, and why. And then we can navigate through the rest of this to make it so that you don't make those same mistakes. And I've had some incredible improvements just overnight when people hear themselves. It's kind of like if you ever taken golf lessons or tennis lessons like that, you don't know, you can hear what somebody's telling you, but until you see yourself actually doing it, you don't know what's happening. And that's why the recording is so valuable. And then I've spent a lot of time in leadership and emotional development training over the last 8 years, and I call it Mindset Magics to help you navigate through the ups and downs. And there will be ups and downs. There's no way around it. The goal is to make the downs be as short as possible so that the ultimate goal is reached sooner rather than later. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to switch gears here to a YouTube video of a client that I worked with last year. And let's just see. You should be able to hear this. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
With a diverse background and portfolio that I have in my extensive sales career. So I was looking to level up. I knew I had some skills and I had drive, but I wanted to tell a clearer story about what I could do professionally and what I was able to offer. Something that would resonate with interviews, pitches, and networking conversations. So you were able to help me translate what I've done and the skill sets that I've accumulated and create like what would be considered like a powerful narrative. So you worked my resume, worked on the interviewing strategies, and most importantly, you were able to help me develop messaging that captured the full scope of my impact in a way that I could help a business grow their revenue.
Did your salary increase after we first worked together?
I believe it was 50% with the first job that you helped me get.
Right, and that's a number I remember also. And the bigger thing is you were able to make a transition into an industry that you hadn't been in before.
Right.
So
that I got the job because of working with you, Bill. Like, I know I can do the work. I've got a good referral in there, but if I can't communicate to upper management, the national sales director of what I can actually do, and I'm not confident walking into that meeting, I don't think I would have got it.
And one of the things we talked about is how do you frame the answer before you actually say the details? And the higher up you go within a company, the more you needed to, not you, but everybody needs to do that. Like, give them the Cliff Note version as opposed to all the details. If they want to know the details, they'll ask.
Right.
And your accomplishments, which we refined in your resume slightly before presenting that to the new company, plus the exit statement. What happened? Some people will look at it and say, well, I got laid off. And nobody wants to deal with that. And in your case, your attitude was in the right place already. So I didn't have to really do very much with that. But there are other companies and other people where I have had similar situations where I have to really, really work with them to make sure that they're presenting themselves in the best possible way, because, hey, it's a new day. When you're that company situation is over. And the other thing I have to applaud you on is that you said something was off with your old company, whereas some people say, well, I want to go back there because it's a place of familiarity. They've known it for X number of years. In some cases, it's 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
But you have to say, hey, you know what? This is more of an opportunity than it is bad news, which is the way you handled it. So by the time you got to the national sales director, who is in New England, and you were never going to speak with her directly anyway, unless it's at a sales meeting, you were ready to go, okay? Because you had already passed all the stage gates up till that point.
So the salary is pretty much double of what I was making before. Working with you changed everything. You were able to help me, see a thread and running through my experiences and how to present it with purpose, like you mentioned. So it allowed me to become confident and more focused and just equipped to pursue the opportunity that will align with the values that I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any thoughts or recommendations for others who may see this, who may be considering doing the work that you and I did and how we went about it, or anything that you can say in summary about our interactions over the past 5 years?
Yeah. If you're someone who has worked hard and doesn't really know how to tell you, if you're not sure how to tell your story, work with Bill. That's the easiest route to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any thoughts or recommendations for others who may see this, who may be
You'll have to forgive me for my video editing skills, but I'm going to go back to the rest of this presentation here now. But Wilmot is a great story. I've worked with him twice. Once back after COVID, and then the other time, which was last March 14th, he called me up and he had just gotten laid off the day before. Between then and March 28th, he had 2 interviews set up, and he got an offer at a $55,000 salary increase on April 11th. So he even outlasted his very short severance by what he did. I mean, he tackled it right away. I mean, his down moment was about 10 minutes. And when he called me up, he was one of the few guys that I've spoken with in 13 years of doing this who had some version of, hey, I just got laid off. And it wasn't like he was happy about it, but he realized there was something better because, number one, he knew he was underpaid, and number two, there's some other things going on with the job. So he's one of dozens of examples. I happen to use this. He's a relatively young guy. He's under 40. Also very, as you can tell, very assertive about what he can do. He's got small children or young children that are, I think, 6 and under, 3 of them. His wife also works, so he's got a lot going on. So it's guys like him that are quote unquote my ideal clients, because I'm not a magician, but I know how to tell a story, and I know how to help people tell their own story, which is really the most important thing. So we're going to go through this 90-day game plan. For years, I played high school, college, semi-pro baseball from the time I was about 7 in Little League up till my early 30s. So I'm using a baseball field here as your 90-day game plan. And first off, before you even get in the batter's box, we're going to set your career goals and direction in whatever way that means. And for each of you, it's going to be different. Secondly, we're going to get to first base by covering your value proposition in terms of your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and however you're representing yourself on any other social media platforms. Tomorrow night, we'll speak about outreach and networking, then interviewing and negotiating, with the ultimate goal of landing your dream career job, scoring the run, hitting the home run, however you want to describe it. But that's the field of career and job search. And my goal with anybody that I'm working with is, in a 90-day period or less, to come up with 2 simultaneous or relatively simultaneous competitive, viable job offers for 2 reasons. Number 1, you have options, and number 2, you have negotiating leverage. The day that I presented in New Jersey, which was the 17th, I started working with a young man down in Florida who's an aeronautical engineer, and he had an interview last Thursday, and they're going to give him an offer, at least they say they are, by this Friday. He's the second quickest next to my daughter of anybody that I've worked with. So it can happen really, really quickly if you're in the right place and you have the right tools and the mindset is working properly. So, first off, I want to talk about values. Does your current career or your most recent career align with your values? And there's a whole bunch of them listed here. And I'm not going to read them all. You can read what's going on there, but these are very, very different than what are you being paid, what's your title, what's the name of the organization that employs you, and whatever it is. So there's much more going on as it relates to your values than just those things. All right. And when I have people look at these and say, you know what, this isn't aligning with my values, is it time to find a new position or a new organization or maybe even a new field of expertise? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you both or all, I'm going to give 60 seconds or so to pick your top 5 values. And if you don't see one on here that's important to you, list that as well. So let me put the stopwatch on and we will go. Well, I'll just say go and I'll figure the stopwatch out in a minute. Okay, go ahead. 5 top values. You may see them on here and you may not. You can raise your hand when you're good to go. Okay, 5 seconds. And yes, Raj. Oh, you're good. Oh, that means you're done. Okay, got it. All right, good. Anybody else need some more time? All right, we'll leave it at that. Anybody want to volunteer what their top 2 or 3 in this list might be? This is participatory, interactive. Any volunteers are appreciated.
I'll go with 3. I'll throw out 3.
Go ahead.
This is Patrick. For me, like the last 17 years since I've been an independent contractor, time and freedom is a big deal for me.
Okay.
I have 2 kids. I have a 19-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they live in San Antonio. So it is a drive to go and to get them on the weekends and stuff like that. So time and freedom to be able to see them during the weekdays or pick them up after school or things like that, that is a lot to me.
Can we call that flexibility also?
Yeah,
Okay.
flexibility. Also, like for me, since I haven't had your typical 9 to 5 career, sense of security would be nice, and stability would really top it for me.
Okay.
Just because everything's been so much on my own accord. Like if I wanted to make more money, I would have to go out there and
Work more
try
hours.
to get that. Yeah, more
Right.
more hour, and you wouldn't see me. And I got to the point where I was doing that, and 6 figures seems nice, but when you end up in the hospital because you're dehydrated and overworked and exhausted, and that happens twice within 6 months, it really
Wow.
starts putting things in perspective on what's more important, money or health and wellness and time.
Fair enough. Great. Thanks. Had a couple of health issues myself at different times in my career. And until you have your health, or when you don't have your health, you realize nothing else matters. And that's good. Thanks for that, Patrick. I think Chris, by a nanosecond, was ahead of Preeti. So go ahead, Chris.
Well, sure. So I wrote down family, variety, and working with others. I kind of combine those because my current role, kind of in a global role, so I get to, not only work with a team that I'm leading, but also with a lot of folks around the world. I travel a lot to different places. I've gotten to meet some wonderful people in other countries. And then I wrote down helping society slash moral because, I like the fact that we're making something useful for people, right? I mean, all right, toothpaste may not really be helping society, but it is to a certain extent. Not, you know, not saving lives or anything, but at least it's manufacturing something useful versus, my degree is technically aeronautical engineering, so I could have been working for, a military company or something, and I'm
Hmm.
sure that really would align with my particular values at the moment. So.
Well, that's a
Technically, you can die from a tooth abscess, so I would argue that toothpaste is actually saving lives sometimes.
Okay,
okay.
good. I'll take that.
It's a slight stretch, but we're going to go with it for the purposes of this. So, um, and Chris, you pointed out one thing that really matters is, well, actually two of them. They're kind of 1A and 1B. That is the field of expertise that you have, and your background in aeronautical engineering. You shifted more to a mechanical engineering type of role, if I could summarize. The second thing is the organization that you're working with. What do they stand for? What are their values, and how does that align with you? So, the combination of those two things can have a big impact on your overall quote unquote satisfaction with any specific job. Preeti, next.
Okay, so what came up for me immediately was my time freedom and flexibility so that I can do the other things that I'm passionate about. Of course, stability and security and family also are all wrapped up into that. And I would like to help others using my creativity and passion. So my creativity meaning being able to write my songs, my stories, my and creating those courses and workshops. And I'd like to teach and have leadership skills in implementing those workshops.
Okay, cool. You actually had six values. You overachieved here.
I'm
So
sorry.
no, no, I'm giving you a hard time. The bottom line is this. I mean, some of these, when we do this exercise out of my book, all of these values get a 1 to 5. In other words, give yourself a 1 to 5 score as to how important this is or not important for you in your life at this time. And what happens is the mosaic shows up. Like, what are the things that are really most important to you, and what are the things that are not important? And it becomes one of the filters by which you evaluate either companies or positions or career paths going forward. So that's the reason. That's the reason for. This is actually one of 7 exercises that I have in the first section of my book, and it's the one that people gravitate to the easiest, I would say, which is why it's here. So there's several others that come along for the ride. Anybody else want to chime in with the values that popped up?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, like my first one was like, I think it's just time freedom, but work-life balance.
Okay.
I think, and because of family is why, I want a good work-life balance. But uh, I spent probably 25 years, in Clone and Lilly as a leader, whether it's supervisor, manager, or director level, and um, which I did enjoy. But I mean, I think the biggest part of that was leading a team, accomplishing, in a team environment, accomplishing hard things, but then also developing those who were reporting to me as well. And I think
Okay.
in a leadership position, people have that responsibility to bring people along,
Okay.
and that was really important to me.
Sounds good. And in your leadership roles, how many people either directly or indirectly reported to you at different times? Like, what was the most number of people that you
So
had?
directly was probably 6 or 7, and then indirectly about 35.
Okay. Which is the most that I ever had myself. I worked with
Okay.
people who have had organizations with as many as 3,000 people
Wow.
under their wing, and it's a whole different, the delegation and
Yeah.
the leadership, mentorship approach in those circumstances is really, really important. Setting the culture from the top down and making it so that it works for everybody and for the organization is difficult when you start talking about that many people. Um, Anybody else want to chime in on values?
Yeah, I can go. It's for
Yep.
me, it's creativity is most important, and independence goes right after it. And that I kind of brought up to myself, like company didn't like hand it to me. I have to just come up with the projects which last long and just like actually I have it. So that's probably one of the reason I stay there long.
Mhm.
Other is fulfillment, which I not necessarily got it. And then of course helping others or helping society and just like stability in some sense.
Okay. All right, great. How many found this exercise to be valuable? Show of hands. If it, yeah, and it's one of those things where I find that most people have never been prompted with the question more than anything else. And when you are prompted with the right questions, some answers will come out that you didn't expect, and B, will indicate the direction you do or don't want to go as you proceed forward with your career search. So, okay, great. Thanks for your participation. And if anybody else wants to chime in, great. Otherwise, I'll move on. All right, we will continue. And one of the reasons that not just the Mark Twain quote, but or the values is your destiny's in the balance. I'm not what has happened to me. I'm what I choose to become. And Carl Jung changed all kinds of approaches to modern psychology by his philosophies, and this is one of them. And I think it's really important and it's relevant for what we're doing here. Is this the time to make the changes in your life and career, pursue something that you love, do something that you've never done? And I'm not talking about skydiving, although that may be part of it. Or is it time to work with someone one-on-one who's been there many times and back? And that would be, of course, me. And working with a career coach, and I call myself a career development coach because career coach is kind of generic. It's kind of like life coach. Like, what does that mean? Career development and career growth coach are a very different thing. We'll talk about an investment in your future, which is actually going to be tomorrow night, not on day 4. I did have this as a 5-day seminar for a while. Much like a college or graduate degree, and it's part of your continued career growth. It's not an expense as much as it is an investment, because the opportunity cost for you, if you're worth $100,000 a year and you can do the math up or down, is $400 a day. If you're $200K a year, it's $800 a day. So if you are employed a week or two sooner, the initial investment pays out, plus everything is tax deductible. And I mentioned earlier about me being the Sherpa. If you want to take the map and climb the mountain on your own, you can do it. All of you have found jobs in the past and probably can right now. But is it going to line up with your ikigai, your purpose, your values, and every other thing that would be working through in the first stage of the process? And what's holding you back from what you want? And sometimes it's defining what you want that's holding you back, but other times there are obstacles. Sometimes they're between your ears, and sometimes they're legitimate obstacles. But those are the things that we will address and take care of. And one of my favorite verses from the Old Testament goes like this: as iron sharpens iron, so does one person sharpen another. And that's the whole goal of working with a coach. And in all of my programs, there's a group part of it, much like what this call is all about. I have weekly group meetings. I'm going to start adding a second one just because there are too many people, where everybody interacts and kind of feeds off each other in a positive way in terms of where they're progressing related to job search. 3 of my clients in the last 2 weeks have either started a new job or gotten offers, which has been really fun. That's what it really gratifies me, if nothing else. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears another time here and talk about the importance of gratitude. And gratitude is one of those things that until you recognize what happens when you don't have it, you recognize how important it is. You can literally rewire your brain to be happy by simply recalling 3 things you're grateful for every day for 21 days. I often mention to people that a good way of doing this is to take a little post-it note, write the 3 things on there, remember them, but then throw them in a jar. And at the end of 21 days, look back at all the things in your life that you are grateful for. I happen to have a whole sheet that I typed out because I got tired of doing the post-it notes and I just wanted to be able to look at it. And it's a reminder of things that we take for granted that people in other parts of the world would give a lot for. And simple things like, clean water and air conditioning and electricity and Wi-Fi and a car and a house and food and all this stuff. Even if you're not in the best place, let's call it career-wise, and it may be impacting your finances, there's still a whole lot that you can be grateful for. And by doing that, recalling those things that you're grateful for, they will come back to you in a really important way. And I'm hoping this plays out here too. Let's run this here.
The science shows that gratitude has the ability to boost your mood and boost your immune system. And what's even more fascinating is that when you're having a thankful thought, you can't have a worry-filled thought at the same time. That's mind-blowing to me. If you're having a grateful thought, you can't have an anxious thought at the same time.
Oops. Well, for some reason, it's not going away. Okay. Let's see what we have going on here. This is called technical difficulty. Give me a second. I'm going to... I'm clicking on all the right places, but it's not happening. All right, I'm going to put the recording on pause. I did. Okay, so again, the message here is that when you have a gratitude thought, you cannot have an anxious thought. And when you're having the ups and downs, the roller coasters that go along with the emotions related to the ups and downs of job search, when you fill your mind with gratitude related thoughts, things will shift back toward the positive areas that you want to be. Okay, some of you may recognize the image on the left from Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. Gratitude is a powerful process for shifting your energy and bringing more of what you want into your life. Be grateful for what you already have and you will attract more good things. So this is the second little exercise we're going to do here, and I'm going to get some water here. And what are you grateful for today? So one of my favorite quotes is from an ancient Roman philosopher, Cicero. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. So I'm going to do the stopwatch thing again, and let's give it 2 minutes instead of 3, but just jot down those things that you are grateful for. Go. Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, time. Anybody want to speak to the top 3 items that you're grateful for?
I can speak real quick.
Go ahead.
So I wrote, I am grateful for my healthy, happy, and thriving children, my health, my faith, my unshakable faith in God, and my persistence, forward thinking, um, never give up attitude, my compassion for and love for humanity, and my desire to help and everything else with my home and everything else.
Great. Okay, good. Um, Again, if we work together, we're going to expand this list to a much larger, but the first couple of minutes are usually the things that will rise to the top of that list, no matter what. So, anyone else?
Uh, I guess
Amy? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess mine was my family, my home, and my cats.
There you go. And you have to be thankful for your bunny ears, and that your
Oh, yeah.
speaker too. I mean, I'm thankful for that, if nothing else.
Well, I mean, I think my husband, which is part of my family, so that's why it's he's still at the
So
top, so.
there you go. There you go. All good. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on, but keep this in mind. This is an important aspect of every part of job search and candidly every part of life. When you wake up in the morning, you're grateful for the fact A, that you woke up, and B, that there are so many other things that you can speak to that you have a level of gratitude for. It's really, really important. All right. So we are at the end of the first half. The second half will go much, much quicker, but which is okay. So we've already listed your top 3 personal values and one way your current career or desired career aligns or doesn't align with each. And the question here is, what small shift could you make to move one step closer to alignment? Step 2, which we just did, is the top 5 things you are grateful for in your life and or people, obviously. And then looking at the career field that we spoke about a little earlier, what's one step that would move you closer to home plate, landing your dream job? And I'm going to ask you just to spend a minute here to give yourself a 1 to 5 quote unquote rating on the following items: defining your career goals, your value proposition, meaning your resume, your LinkedIn profile, or both, your ability to or your actual results of your networking, or your interviewing skills. Okay, and if you could just give yourself a 1 to 5 on those 4 items, it'll take you probably 20-30 seconds. And then we can move on to part 2. Okay, and anybody want to share those 4 numbers, those 4 categories and the 4 numbers 1 to 5, 1 being low and 5 being high? Go ahead, Rush.
I think for career goals, I'm at a 4. Value proposition at a 4. But then my networking and interviewing is probably where I bottom out at 2 and 3, respectively.
Okay. Anybody else? Amy.
I would second that. The same number value. Sorry, the same number value. I feel with networking, I might be at a 3, but definitely interviewing, I would say very poor. Yeah, I don't have the I guess the background in business as Amy was saying, I didn't go to a 4-year college, so everything I always feel like, and I doubt myself, but I always feel like a blubbering idiot when I'm talking. So I try not to say too much. So
Yeah, and the thing is, if it's something I'm working with somebody right now who didn't have an interview for 22 years, had 11 different positions, most of them promotions within his company until he was laid off, and he just didn't know how to interview. He didn't have to. He had his performance reviews, he had his reputation that preceded him. So I'll give yourself a little grace here in terms of that because it's just not something that you've done a lot of. And with practice and with a refined value proposition and messaging and how to deliver the message, and from the video that I showed you about Wilmot, he had a tendency as a sales guy to kind of ramble on and on and on about what he was doing or not doing. So I, quote unquote, taught him how to frame the answer and then deliver the answer in a way that was received properly by mid to senior level managers, and that's why he was able to get that position with a significant raise. And all of you have the goods in one form or another. I mean, most of you do things that either I have no idea how to do or I don't want to know how to do. But the real thing is being able to communicate what does that going to mean for the person on the other side of the Zoom call or the other side of the desk. What value can you provide for them in ways that they may or may not have considered?
and just to touch on this real quick,
Yep.
I did apply to Amazon through their drone
Yeah, right,
career path that they're doing,
right.
and they pushed me off into an assessment, and honestly, just sitting there, I felt like I was back in school, and you had these 2-minute timed prompts that asked you questions from a project manager, and they gave you a scenario, and you received an email, and you have to respond. What's the best way you would respond? And to me, I'm thinking like I'm applying for a warehouse position. Like I'm not on the same level as a project manager, and so like just I was flustered. I was sweating, and it wasn't timed per se, and there wasn't anybody there, but I felt more anxiety from anything else that I put on myself. And then after it was all said and done, after I wrote down everything I was going to say, and I finally used my mouth to say this, the internet shut off and I wasn't able to submit it. So it had me start again.
Well,
So I have.
let me just there's one other aspect of this, and several of you may or may not have experienced this, but I certainly have through several clients, is their first interview is with a bot. The bot asks the question, and it's an AI generated. I haven't seen it personally, but I've had several clients who either recorded themselves or told me about what was going on. They want to see if you can walk and chew gum at the same time before they get you further along in the interview process. And that's not the applicant tracking system. Okay, you've gone past that to the point where they want to see you on video and hear you communicate, et cetera, et cetera. Very unnerving, but it's where it is, and you have to get comfortable enough with yourself and what your value is potentially for the new role, so that you can just speak to the camera and speak to the quote-unquote bot like you're talking to a person. Again, this is where we are. It's like the Jetsons, if you remember that cartoon a long time ago. I'm dating myself, but we're getting there. So anybody else want to think? Amy, go ahead.
So I'm realizing mine is severely low for a lot of these. So career goals is 3. Value proposition, I assume that means like how much I value my time?
No. It's really your value proposition is really more about your resume, your LinkedIn profile. How are you communicating what you can do to add value for an
Oh,
organization?
well, I need to decrease that a bit. We're going to go -5 on that one. Okay. -5. Networking's at a 3. It's, could be better, could be worse.
Okay.
Interviewing is also -5. It might be a -10. I can't interview effectively.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Okay,
I freeze up and I panic, and sometimes I can't even talk.
I'm going to
So,
reframe your language.
okay.
You're going to allow me to do that?
Yeah.
I'm not yet able to do it as well as I would like.
Oh, Gabby's dollhouse goes over the word yet.
Okay, all right. I'm in the process of becoming better at interviewing.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So I get it. You're not going to have yourself at a 5 on it, but language is really important in how you the self-talk that comes along with all of this is really really important because that's how you project what you would be or how you would be to work with, either for somebody that you're going to be reporting to or your teammates or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how interviewing uh corresponds with the publishing industry in this particular scenario. Like, are we talking about querying? Because usually, like, you query agents, but that's through email, if you even get that far. But it's better if you network your way through that. So I don't, I'm not sure how it translates.
It'll be clearer after we finish tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to discuss both of those in some detail tomorrow night. Okay.
All right.
Anyone else want to chime in with their numbers as we're, or otherwise we can continue on here. I know we're running a little over, but we've had some really good dialogue, and I didn't want to cut that off. So let me share the screen again. Okay, so we finished part 1. And the next part is crafting your value proposition. And Amy, this is going to become a lot clearer once we get through this section as to just your questions 30 seconds ago. All right, it'll become a lot clearer what we're referring to. Okay, so we are now in the landed method. We're now in the differentiate part of your unique value story. And before we get to how we communicate about what your value proposition is, I'm going to take a couple of steps sideways toward this. What are your dreams and goals? And I want to challenge you to ask all areas of your life. Again, this is another exercise that's part of my book. Career is part of life. Where are you in each? There are 14 different categories. I've used this with permission of the author Matthew Kelly, who wrote this in a book called The Dream Manager back in 2008, I think is when he published the book. And I added a couple. He had 12 and I added 2 more. How do we make your career or vocation fit with these dreams, your short, medium, and long-term goals? And in some cases, there are people who have never really even asked themselves what their short, medium, and long-term goals might be. It's I get up, I go to work, I come home, I have family, I have this. But I'm going to ask you to look at a broader approach to all of these. Aligning with your core values, which we already talked about, and must be meaningful to you and to those around you. Again, pursuing a passion, still small voice. Is there something that you have been thinking about doing for a number of years? It's something that you, as a hobby, you would do it for free, but how can we make it so that you can get paid to do it? Does anybody know what the acronym ICNU means? Anybody ever seen that before? And there's a whole page and a half on that in the book. And ICNU means that I see, as in with my eyes, in you something that you don't see in yourself. And candidly, the guy who brought me into this work, and the guy named Henry Lesher, who's since retired, he knew that I'd be good at it. I didn't. I just kind of said, okay, I'll come help you with this job fair, and then I started working with clients, and it turned out he was right. And who says it to you? Who comes to you asking for advice about certain subjects, and you don't even realize that you have a specific skill set or a specific ability? Who says it to you and does it resonate? All right. So when you have people say you're really good at whatever it is, take note of that. And it could be in all different areas of your life, but the I see in you is really important in terms of, again, identifying what your career path might look like. Is reinvention a possibility? And I use an example. When I first came to New Jersey back in the late 80s, the pharmaceutical and telecom industries were all the rage. But then, like every industry, it goes through its ups and downs, and there were lots of mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, etc. And those industries are not nearly as prominent as they once were. And I put buggy whips in here because 100 years ago, Henry Ford was making the Model A and the Model T cars that made buggy whips obsolete. Are you in a situation where your skill sets or your industries may be on the decline? And are there other industries that you may want to get out in front of? Web developers, social media experts, and right now I can add AI experts to this as well, construction contractors, all of this. These are industries that are growing. If Mike Rowe, the guy who does the cable TV show Dirty Jobs, says that there is a shortage of about 3 million people in this country for, let's call them, trade positions. And I've seen many, many people with stories like the following: develop a trade, work as an apprentice, 5 or 6 years, start your own company, and you can retire in your 40s if you do it right. Not to say that people want to, but those are the options. How many of you have a plan B, a part-time or full-time source of income if and when your plan A goes away? And that could be anything from investing in real estate or stocks, mutual funds, etc. It could also be a multi-level marketing company. It could be a hobby that you've turned into something that earns you an income. Again, having a plan B is important because the average job tenure, and this doesn't apply to Merrick or Chris, is 2.8 years right now. 20 years ago, it was 4.5. So just, again, it's being able to have a source of income and a source of things to do when your plan A might go away. All right, so now we're going to get to the value proposition. And I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. There's going to be a little bit of homework at the end here, which is probably going to take you 15 to 30 minutes to do if you do it properly. And some of you may have seen it before, but we'll get there in a second. Okay, as part of your value proposition, and I've seen somewhere north of 20,000 resumes in the last 13 years, fully 25% of them I wouldn't send a high school kid out with. And this is the primary reason, because recruiters and hiring managers do not want to see your duties, your responsibilities, and your activities. Okay, you could add breathed oxygen and use the restroom as part of your activities, and you don't want to do that. And I'm being facetious, of course, but it goes like this. What they want to see are your accomplishments, your contributions, your skills and your assets, and the ways you've added value. And some of you have very quantifiable ways that you can describe what your value is, and some of you not so much, but we work around all of that, and I'll get to that here in a minute. This goes back to my product management and marketing days. I introduced either about 50 new products, services, or line extensions into the marketplace. Each one of them had to be 4 or 5 out of these, and these are the words that I put together after a number of years of doing this. What about you, or when I was doing product marketing, what about the product is unique, compelling, ownable, meaning that it can't be immediately copied, trademarkable is another way to say this, valuable, and affordable. If you have 4 of these, you're going to be a winner. If you have 5, you're a slam dunk. Okay, and this is, again, this was just my observation over doing the market research and the product development and the product introductions both to retail trade and to consumers through the years. All right, so by the way, everything is being recorded here, so if you want to take screenshots or anything like that, you certainly can, but you will also get the ability to look at this again if you need to. So take notes as you want, but if you'll have access to them at another point. So, what are your skills? I apologize for the somewhat faded, blurry image here, but I think you'll appreciate the second slide here. Good evening, Josh. And so what are your skills, says the interviewer. And then the interviewee comes up with this, which is a great parlor trick, but it's not going to get you a job. All right, and frankly, pretty entertaining that she could actually do this. But your skills and your assets have to be a little more tangible than this. I have worked on probably 1,000 resumes in my career, and this goes back to when I was a graduate assistant career counselor at Indiana University. But Most resumes do not have some of this basic information at the top, and I don't mean your name and your contact info. I mean things like what key titles are going to line up with what you want to do. Give a summary statement, a couple of sentences about what people can expect from you, and then these bullet points as key skills. From the standpoint of extracting key information, you only get about 6 to 8 seconds in front of a recruiter or a hiring manager when they actually look at your resume after it gets through the bot. Or when we'll talk about this tomorrow night, if you network properly, having somebody hand deliver your resume or hand email your resume will get you to the top of the pile every time. Either way, you want to make it so that it's as easy as possible to extract the key information about you and how you've added value. And this is what sets the tone. I worked with Matt, I think it was 4 years ago, and he was finishing up a graduate degree in accounting, and he had some really good internship experience, but his resume didn't tell a story. The story is told from the top down with this section right in here. The attributes on your resume have to include accomplishments and contributions and how you added value. And I use the 3C words here: clear, compelling, and concise. It's not just your resume that needs to be clear, compelling, and concise. It's the communication about you in every form, either online, resume, or in verbally when you're doing the interview process. So the process goes like this. The first step is to create a summary of your key accomplishments and work experience. And we're going to go through that here in a few minutes in some detail. Step 2, your education and skills. Those will all be at the bottom, technical skills. Step 3, titles and positioning. And step 4 is to make sure the format and layout are professional. They don't go beyond 2 pages. Some people say you can do as many pages as you want. Then it's not a resume, it's a CV. But keeping it to 2 pages, I believe, is important. Most recent college graduates, even till about 5 years out, are usually 1 page. And that's what I found. So we're going to go through the first part of this in terms of describing the ways that you've added value. And if you look at anything that you've done, and it doesn't have to be in a corporate environment, it could be as a consultant or as a courier or as somebody who has written a book in one way or another. How is it that you've added value? The first way is growing revenue or memberships, or in the nonprofit world it's called fundraising. The second way is to cut costs or make things more efficient. The third way is to solve big problems with a new IT system which could take 12 months to implement. Fourth way is to prevent big problems. I know people in legal and regulatory. I had one client several years ago who worked with a pharmaceutical company and resolved all the issues that the FDA had identified and saved that company $500 million with a B in potential regulatory fines. And for those of you who know that industry, you know how that can be a real slap on the wrist, and in this case it would have been very debilitating financially for that company. So these are the ways you can grow value. And then the fifth one is creating or managing teams to do any or all of the first 4. I've worked with people who only do number 5, but if they do number 5 based on their prior experience of one or more of the first 4, then they can both delegate, train, mentor, etc. to create the outcomes and the results that they're looking for. And I'm talking about executive managers in this kind of situation. Again, creating or managing teams for the first 4. So your LinkedIn profile is really important. There are now over 1 billion subscribers on LinkedIn. It's more personalized and less formal. Your resume has to be in the third person just by protocol. And candidly, it's your free online website. Okay, people can find you from anywhere. It must highlight your unique value and align with your other social media platforms if you use them. One of the things about LinkedIn is that recruiters and hiring managers are every day going through LinkedIn and giving them 12, 10, 8 keyword phrases and then saying, find me somebody that fits these. And if you've done your LinkedIn profile properly, you're a hit. And I've worked with several clients that after we upgraded their LinkedIn profile, particularly the About section, they're getting calls from people that they never imagined they'd see before. There was a college graduate that I did some work with last May and June. Once we put his new LinkedIn profile there, he said he was getting maybe 1 or 2 a month. He was getting 3 to 5 a week. And ultimately, he found a position as a recent graduate with a base salary of 65 and an upside for the bonuses, and he's attained the bonuses to 95K, which is not bad when you're first coming out of school. But the reason is he had all these people on LinkedIn coming after him, and it's a really important aspect of your outreach as well. Okay, so your day one homework is going to be to do 2 of these. And you may or may not have seen this. How many of you are familiar with the STAR or the CAR format? Circumstances, actions, results. Raj, you've seen it. Chris, you've seen it. It also is called situation, task, action, result. The bottom line is demonstrating what it is that you did to add value by listing the description of what it is, circumstances, the actions, results. And I also want you to do, as best you can at this point, write out your ideal job or career as best you can see it at this point. And this can change somewhat or it can change radically if we decide to work together and we go back and forth on some of the exercises that I'm showing you. So again, the ideal job or career type or field of work. This, by the way, is all in the attachment in the Google Doc that I sent you as part of the email invitation. If you make a copy of that, I'm not going to allow you to use it. You won't be able to edit the document I sent you, but make a copy of that document and then it's yours. And then you can go through and do not just tonight, but the exercises for tomorrow night and the one on Thursday as well. All right, so I'll move forward here to, this is atypical, but it's not the only way to do this. This is growing revenue in a sales territory. Description: grew sales in my territory 24%. The territory was declining 10 to 20% each of the prior 3 years. The action steps were this: developed all these new contacts, 35 became clients, followed up with prior clients who had not been contacted in a couple of years. Ultimately, the increase was 24% in sales and a 45% increase in customer base. This is an actual accomplishment that I used on a resume with a client probably 3 years ago. And particularly in sales and in marketing, the revenue and profit numbers are really, really important. In a manufacturing role, you might be able to say, and I'm making this up, but reduced waste by 7% through process optimization, improved yields by a certain amount, whatever it might be, thereby saving $40 million over a 2-year period. Don't know, I'm making this stuff up, but you're getting the idea of what it is that you can say about the things that you've done and how they added value to the organizations that you were working with. Okay, so circumstance: what was going on? What challenge, project, or goal were you facing? And Amy, this involves, when you're publishing a book, and you've published some books that are pretty long, you had that goal in front of you. You sold X number of books once you had it together. Those are all accomplishments. Okay, they may not be in the same vein as growing sales in your territory by 24%, but those are all accomplishments. What did you personally do? What steps did you take? What was the measurable outcome or impact on the team, the customer, or the organization? And one of the things that I do, and arguably AI can do it as well, but not nearly as well as humans, is create bullet points for your resume based on what your accomplishments are. But what I've found is that AI will come back to you with a boring resume bullet like this: managed customer database, which is like, okay, great. But when you put it into the CAR format, our CRM was disorganized and slowing sales. I cleaned and standardized 4,000 records, increasing, and let's see the actual bottom of the slide here. Hold on a second. Increasing, where'd it go? Follow-up rates by 20%. Okay, so the goal is to create bullets that are meaningful and that people can get their arms around. That usually means dollars or percentages or time saved or some other metric that people can put their arms around. Okay, so step 1, list your accomplishments, top 2 accomplishments in this format: circumstances, actions, results. And the reflection on this is, what are your 2 best, or the 2 you're most proud of, or the 2, candidly, that you enjoyed the most? That's the other criterion, is to look at the ones that you enjoyed doing. It may not have had the most impact, but it had the most impact on you. And then give yourself a 1 to 5 about how well you're communicating these on your current resume and LinkedIn profile. All right, and we don't have to do that right now, but and what's another step that would move you closer to home plate, which would be landing your dream job. Okay, so those are the 2 short homework assignments for tonight. It'll probably take you longer to do the first one than the second one, but we'll go from there. And I think, let me back up this for a little bit. Anybody need this? Can I move on briefly from here? I just have a couple more slides and then we're done for the evening. All right, we'll move on. This is the workbook that Henry and I put together back in 2020. Again, my mantra is God put us all here for a variety of reasons. Career is one of the most important, so we need to figure out why and deliver that in the best way we can. All these exercises are in the workbook, and they're in the textbook, quote unquote, as well, but the workbook is usually, I find, much more meaningful in terms of how you go about, quote unquote, keeping a diary related to your job search and moving forward in that way. I will put this out there for tonight that all the things that are going on both tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday, if you decide you want to put a quote-unquote VIP together, $47 will allow you to have lifetime access to these recordings. It'll get you my career and job search checklist, a networking tracker, and an interview confidence planner. And also a copy of my book. The current version of the book, because I had to update it, is in PDF form. So I would then email it to you, and there's a call at the end of the week to implement everything that we end up talking about tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. So if you decide that that's something that you'd want to do, my Zelle and Venmo are below, and I have not yet decided to use Bitcoin as a means of exchange, but maybe one day I will, but it won't be today. So let's see, questions, thoughts that are coming up after we went through quite a bit, actually, here in the last hour and 35 minutes. Wow, okay. Thank you for the message, Preeti. Anybody else with thoughts or comments? If you get stuck on either of the quote-unquote assignments that I gave you, reach out to me by email or text, and I'll get you unstuck. And we'll figure out what that is, because these are things that if you've done them before, like Chris and Raj, these are familiar activities for you, or at least you've had lots of performance reviews that probably had similar types of things going along with it. But if you haven't, it's a new way of communicating. So if you do get stuck, just reach out to me. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, questions before we call it an evening?
I'd just like to say thank you. I really appreciate it, Bill. I am very grateful for you and for James. And not everybody on the call knows James, but
Right.
you know James, and
Right.
I'm just really appreciative just to have this opportunity to be here to learn these things and to hopefully get that job.
James
New
is a
career.
mutual right. James is a mutual friend in Austin who introduced us. I guess it was yesterday. If it seems like
Correct.
longer, but it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So great. I'll leave it at that for now. We'll see you tomorrow at same time, 8 p.m. Eastern or 7 Central. And again, reach out if there's any thoughts or questions that you might have between now and then. And I will.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Bill. Tomorrow I have I have exhibition when I show my photos, and tomorrow I have a
Oh,
talk
nice.
about it.
Okay.
So I won't be able to join, but I do appreciate it, the time and just the giving me the link and just chance to just like watch the session today. Thank you very much.
You can watch the replay. I don't know if that applies to Oliver as well, if he's going to be with you there or not, but certainly if he's
Yeah,
still
I
with you.
give him the link. Maybe he's gonna tell me what happened tomorrow.
Right. You'll have access to the recordings too, okay? Because
Okay, great.
these I will send these out when I get the Zoom link, and that'll not just be for all of you, which obviously you were on the call, but those who couldn't make it will have a chance to review it if they choose to between now and tomorrow.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, Raj,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thanks
Okay.
to all of you
Have
for
a good night,
sharing.
everybody.
Yeah, and I really appreciate
Bye-bye.
the jumping in and sharing where you are at this point in your journey as well. That makes the conversation a lot richer, and we'll continue tomorrow night. Okay.
Good night. Thanks, everyone.
Good
Peace out.
night.
All right. Good night.